Now we're going to draw a close-up of an eye so that we can really get into the intricacy of drawing animal eyes. This is going to be the reference we'll be working with, so please print it out so you have it with you and can draw along. Okay, so to draw the outline of the drawing, we're going to be using the grid to help guide us. Now, since this is a rather large drawing and there's not that much detail we have to copy over, I'm going to be using a 2" by 2" grid rather than my usual 1" by 1". So I'm just going to take my ruler and draw in the grid. Okay, and now I'll do the same for my drawing paper. Okay, so most of the work to be done with this drawing has to do with shading, but before we can shade, we have to create a basic outline drawing. Now, when looking at this, there's not a whole lot of hard lines in this drawing, and there's a lot of details, and it can get really overwhelming. So the first thing I like to do is to break down the reference so I know exactly what I'm looking at. So basically we have an eyeball here with a layer of skin, eyelid, surrounding it, and then follow up with some fur. The eyeball obviously is much bigger than what we can see here, but it's covered up by the surrounding skin. So I want to outline the part of the eyeball right at the edge where it meets the skin. And I'm going to be using this red color pencil so it shows up better on the camera, but when you do this you can use your drawing pencil. Okay, so the outline starts here and it goes down here where it gets cut off by this section, this little bits of flesh here right at the tear duct, and then it goes around this way, and right here the reference is completely dark, so you can't really see where the edge is, but if you extrapolate from the line here, you can tell that it curves around like this. Okay, and that goes down like so. So that's the outline of the parts of the eyeball that are visible. Okay, and so there's the eyeball. Around here we have a portion of skin, and it sort of protrude outward. It's a three-dimensional, it's not flat, it protrudes outward, and you can see that the part that protrude out the most is the lightest because it's being hit by the light, and as it moves out from that it gets gradually darker. So we're going to make sure to capture that when we start shading. That's what's going to give this drawing its dimension. Okay, so there's the eyeball, but here's really the rest of the eye opening, because we have to include this part of the tear duct. So we'll draw that in as well. Alright, so now we have something concrete to go off on. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in this part here that I just outlined, and then we'll go from there. So now I'm going to sketch in the portion that we just outlined using the grid here as a guide. Okay, next we have this skin area that surrounds the eyes. So I'm just going to take the pencil and mark it out. Again, this portion doesn't really have any concrete line, so we're sort of generalizing it here. But I'm following the dark shadow area that outlines it. Okay, we're just drawing this in so that we have something to go off of. Okay, and we also have this portion of dark hair that sits on top, right at the top of the eye. So we'll also outline it. The hair follows a certain direction, so I will try to make note of that as I'm outlining it. So it's sort of going back and forth in this direction, and then it sort of levels out and becomes more and more horizontal, okay, to the point where once we get to this point it sort of flattens out and begins pointing this way. And so the darkest part of the hair ends right about here, and then it has a lighter area that sort of stretches out into this direction. Okay, and we have another dark patch of fur up here. Again, this one is very no defined borders, so we're just going to very roughly estimate that shape like so. Okay, I'm just outlining the darkest part of this patch of fur, just the darkest part. And then we have this group of fur here that sort of radiates into the eyes like so. Okay, so those are pretty much the major landmarks on the drawing. Now that I've outlined it, we're going to transfer it onto our drawing. Now, unlike the eyeball, which is hard lines, these other lines here are more of guidelines. So I'm going to try to keep them lighter than these lines here, so that they don't show up too prominently in the final drawing. Just going to use a lot of light pencil strokes. And lastly, we just want to map out some of the details in the eyeball here. There's a whole lot of little minute details here that we're not going to attempt to capture right now. That's going to be done in the shading process. But there is a section of the eyeball, a general pattern to the tone that I want to capture, and that is this little line here that divides the top half and the bottom half. And here we have a shadow or a silhouette of a person, but I'm not going to try to capture that as it might be a little bit too complicated, too convoluted. So we're just going to simplify that into a simple shape and go right over it. Okay. So there's the bottom half of the eyeball, and I'll actually go ahead and try to simplify the shape of this highlighted area here. So I'm just going to go to the outer edge and mark it out. And I'm not trying to make it completely perfect. As you can see, I'm ignoring some of the dark area that are inside the white highlight. I'm just trying to make my life a little bit easier by simplifying this shape like that. Okay, so now I'll just copy it over to my drawing. Now that we don't have need of the grid lines anymore, let's go ahead and erase them from our drawing. Alright, so that's the first step of our eye drawing. Please go ahead and do that to yours, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. And if you'd like to learn more about drawing animal portraits, please check out my brand new home study course on how to draw animal portraits. In it, you'll learn all the techniques for drawing fur and all the parts of an animal portrait, and by the end of the course, you will have drawn a complete animal portrait from start to finish, just like this one here. So to learn more about this course, please just click on the link right below this video. And as always, for more free lessons and tutorials, please visit mydrawingtutorials.com. Thank you and happy drawing!